Have you ever thought any of these things? I am so new, I don't think I can introduce myself as a web designer yet. Or I can't offer SEO services. There's still so much I don't know about SEO. Or I just signed a new client, but that was a total fluke. That inquiry just kind of came out of nowhere. Or my client is super happy with the website I just delivered, but I really hope they don't come back when they realize it's actually not that good. If you have, it's probably imposter syndrome talking. It's a really common experience, especially among high achievers. Unfortunately, there's so much bad advice out there about overcoming imposter syndrome. So in this video, I'm breaking down 3 very popular pieces of advice that I strongly disagree with. I'll share why they suck and, of course, what actually works. Hey, I'm Danbee. I'm a web design mentor based in Switzerland, and I help web designers build profitable and inclusive businesses without overworking. A big part of that work is helping web designers move through imposter syndrome so that they can show up and charge $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 and more for website projects. You can get started with my programs for free at danbeeshin.com/training. Fake it till you make it. I bet you've heard this one 1,000 times. It's the idea that you should act or pretend to be confident and successful, even if you're not, because this will help you eventually become that successful version of yourself. Here is why this is terrible advice. Faking it as a web designer might look like telling your client that you can deliver the exact website that they want, even when you know that you don't have the skills or the experience to actually deliver. Or maybe you do have the skills, but you agree to an impossible timeline just to make your client happy, and because you think it makes you look competent and professional, even though you know you're going to burn yourself out trying to meet those deadlines. I've experienced this as the client. I once hired someone for a specific service, and along the way, they offered something that I hadn't asked for. It sounded great, and I realized I could use the help, and I trusted that they could deliver because they had offered it. It wasn't an extra service that they were presenting. It was part of the package that I had already signed on for. But then they kept missing their own deadlines over and over again, and that pushed back other things in my business and affected my planning for other work that now relied on this new part of the project. In the end, they never delivered that part of the project, and to this day, they still owe me that work, technically. I just obviously don't expect it anymore. What makes this so sad is that I was actually happy with the rest of their work. I learned a lot from their expertise. But because this experience was so disappointing and stressful, I never gave them a testimonial. I would never refer them to anyone, and I definitely wouldn't go back for future projects. They broke the trust. That's what faking it can lead to, even if you're talented and good at your job. When you overpromise and underdeliver, it's not just that one project that takes a hit, it's your reputation as well. Instead of faking it, the better strategy is to sell what you can actually deliver. And I know this bit is hard, but don't compare yourself to what other designers are doing. Instead, focus on what your clients need and figure out how you can meet those needs with the skills and experience that you have right now. And if a client asks you for something that you haven't done before, you don't have to pretend. You can say something like, I haven't done this exact thing before, but I'm confident I can figure it out. If you're okay with that, I'd love to move forward with this project and keep you in the loop with my plans and regular updates. Or if you need more time, you could also say, I haven't done this exact thing before, but I have a good idea of how it could be done. Would it be okay if I took a couple of days to look into it and gave you a more concrete answer by Friday? This kind of transparency builds trust with your clients without overpromising. Learning how to do something is always a better option than pretending that you already know how. You don't have to fake anything. You are allowed to grow, learn, and get better without lying about where you're at today. I hope you found that helpful. Let's keep going because the next 2 are just as popular and just as damaging, especially the last one. Well-meaning coaches love to package it up as tough love, but it can really, really mess with your confidence. The next classic piece of advice is, oh, you're having imposter thoughts? You just need to be more confident. Honestly, this usually comes from a good place. People who say this can see your skills and potential. They think, oh, this web designer, they just need more confidence to charge more and put themselves out there more. It reminds me of the Nike slogan, just do it. Well, with some things, especially internal stuff like imposter syndrome, you can't just do it. It's like telling a person with anxiety, just relax. There is no switch that we can just flip. So instead of trying to create confidence out of thin air, we need to actually build it. My recommendation is to learn from someone who already has the skills and experience that you want. It doesn't have to be through a formal mentorship program or coaching or a course, but of course it can. I'll give you an example from my own business. Today, every client website project includes copywriting, but I used to feel really shy about offering copywriting services. I have no formal training, and back then, 4 or 5 years ago, I definitely was not calling myself a copywriter. Even though I'd written a lot of website content for many of my clients, I just felt like I couldn't charge for it. It was more of a backup solution for clients who didn't have the budget to work with real copywriters. At one point, I was interviewing copywriters on behalf of my client to see if they could help with the website that I was building. And one of those copywriters was Laura Robinson of Worditude. I had met Laura through one of her copywriting workshops, and I will never forget what Laura said. She said, "This sounds like a great project, and I'd be happy to send your proposal for your client, but why don't you take the project and write the website copy? You already know the client and the project so well." She didn't say this to give me a pep talk, although of course she was being very kind and also generous to give me the opportunity to earn the thousands of dollars that she could easily have taken. But this was a genuine question from an expert. She was telling me that I could do this. She saw a skill that I, at least until that moment, hadn't really claimed for myself, and that was the recognition and support that I needed. I went back to the client and gave them 3 different proposals, one of which was mine. And that is how I booked my first ever paid website copywriting project. The moral of the story is that you can't think yourself into becoming more confident. Don't wait until you magically feel more confident to go and do something new. You build that confidence by taking action and learning new skills. And yes, often having those skills validated by someone you trust, because that external validation can give you the push you need to go and do new things. If you can relate to some of the imposter-y feelings that I've described in this video, hit the thumbs up button to let me know, and subscribe for more practical advice like this about building your confidence so you can earn more in your business. Another really harmful piece of advice is, don't worry, it's all in your head. You might hear this when someone notices that you're doubting yourself. For example, you land a new client and think, that was really random. That client came out of nowhere. I'm not going to be able to make that happen again. That was just sheer luck. Or you complete a really successful project and then go, yeah, but that only went well because the client already had such a successful business and only needed a super simple website. I hope they don't realize how easy that actually was. I don't want them to find out I'm actually not as talented as they think I am. And someone who just wants to be supportive and help you feel better might say, oh, that's not true. That's all in your head. You don't have to think that. No one else thinks that. But that's such a dismissive response. Instead of acknowledging all the very real reasons why you might feel this way, they're minimizing your experience. There are plenty of reasons why you might feel like even when you accomplish something significant, it's a result of luck, not skill. Reasons like you've never seen a successful web designer who looks like you or shares your background, culture, or nationality. So you feel like your success isn't earned. You feel like maybe someone overlooked your flaws, or there was some external factor, a random referral maybe, that put you in this spot by accident. You had a difficult client in the past who made you question your skills and judgment. So when the next client is genuinely happy with your work, your first thought is, wait, really? Are they sure? Maybe they just have lower standards. Maybe they'll change their minds. This is such a normal response. You're trying to protect yourself in case something goes wrong again. You've internalized the idea that says you need a specific formal degree, certification, or title to be a real professional designer. If you're like me and you're self-taught, you might not feel like you're qualified enough to run a successful web design business. So when good things happen, your brain says, oh, it's because you got lucky, not because you put in the work. If you've been brushing off your success as luck, I recommend tracking your own cause and effect. So when something good happens, ask yourself, what did I do to contribute to this outcome? This will help you start connecting your actions to your results. So for example, maybe you followed up with past leads and that's why you're booked out for the next 2 months. You invested time and effort creating strong case studies, and that is why a new client reached out to you. You took the time to really understand what your client needs, and that's why they gave you such a positive testimonial. You delivered an amazing experience for a past client, and that made it really easy for them to send you a referral client. And of course, there will be times when you aren't sure why something happened, but practicing tracking your actions and wins will help you see that your success is not random. I also recommend talking to other web designers and freelancers and business owners. Imposter syndrome is something that we all experience in some shape or form on and off throughout our careers, and it can really help to talk about it with people who get it. Just because you run a one-person business doesn't mean that you have to figure everything out on your own. It's a good thing to get help. In my experience, working with a coach or mentor can also give you an outside perspective that can help you move forward. It's like that saying, you can't read the label from inside the jar. Sometimes you need someone who is outside your day-to-day to help you see your situation clearly and show you that you have absolutely earned your wins. I hope this video gave you a different way to think about imposter syndrome. I know that it can be especially easy to doubt yourself and question everything you're doing when you're in a slower season and don't have a lot of client work. If that's where you are right now, I recommend watching this next video. It's about how to get clients during a slower season. I'll see you over there.